What if I told you that the biggest advantage you could ever have in life is knowing when to keep your mouth shut, even when everything inside you wants to speak up, and that almost nobody ever teaches you this? Today, you're about to discover why the quietest person in the room is often the most powerful, and why those who master the art of silence can win in business, relationships, and every part of life, even while everyone else is busy talking. We're digging deep into the science, the stories, and the secrets of why saying less will actually help you achieve more. And I promise, by the end of this video, you'll never look at silence the same way again. Stick around, because what you're about to hear could flip your entire idea of success upside down. Let me share a story that changed the way I see the world forever. There was a guy in my first real job. I'll call him Sam. Sam was never the loudest voice in the meeting room. He didn't rush to answer every question. He rarely even interrupted. Most people didn't really notice him, at least not at first, but here's the funny thing. Every time there was a big promotion, Sam's name was at the top of the list. It wasn't luck and it wasn't politics. It was his ability to listen more than he spoke. While others were busy fighting to be heard, Sam watched, learned, and waited for his moment. And when he spoke, everyone listened. Why is that? The truth is, silence draws people in. It creates mystery. It makes others curious about what you're really thinking. Our brains are wired to fill in the blanks, so when you're quiet, people start to imagine you know more than you let on, that you've got some secret advantage. Sometimes you do. Think about it. When you spill everything on your mind, you give away your plans, your ideas, and sometimes even your weaknesses. But when you keep quiet, nobody knows what you're really planning. That's power. It's like sitting at a poker table and never showing your cards. The less people know about your next move, the more they have to guess, and the more they worry about what you might do next. And it isn't just about creating mystery. Silence is also about control. When you choose not to speak, you keep your options open. You can change direction, adapt, and pivot without having to explain yourself to anyone. It's a freedom most people don't realize they're giving away every time they talk, just to fill the silence. This isn't just my opinion, by the way. Psychologists have proven that people who speak less and listen more are often rated as smarter, more competent, and even more trustworthy. It's a real effect, and it works everywhere, at work, in relationships, even in sports. You don't have to be a genius to use this. You just have to be willing to try something most people are too nervous to do. Sit back, watch, and listen while others talk themselves into corners. The truth is, the person who controls the silence controls the conversation, and that's a skill worth mastering. Now, let's be honest. Most of us have felt that urge to jump in and talk, just to fill the silence or prove we belong. But what does it really cost us when we always feel the need to say something? Imagine you're in a big group. Maybe it's a meeting at work, or a family dinner, or even a negotiation. There's always that one person who can't stand quiet, so they talk and talk, thinking that more words mean more power. In reality, the opposite is true. When you talk too much, you make yourself an open book. People know your plans before you've even started. They see your strengths and your weaknesses, and worst of all, they start to predict exactly what you'll do next. Think about poker again. Would you ever show your hand to the table before the last card is drawn? Of course not. Yet in real life, people do this every single day. They share every plan, every fear, every detail about what they're thinking. That's like handing your opponent a map to your next move. But there's more. Every time you speak, you give people ammunition to use against you. You make commitments without even realizing it. If you announce your intentions, people will expect you to stick to them, and if you change your mind, they'll call you inconsistent or unreliable. But if you keep your plans to yourself, you're free to adapt, to change course, and nobody will think twice. This isn't just about what you say, it's about how much you say. Studies show that people who dominate conversations are actually seen as less likable, less trustworthy, and less intelligent. That's because when you talk too much, people tune you out. They stop listening. Your words start to lose their value, just like money loses value when there's too much of it in circulation. And let's talk about the pressure to always be authentic and transparent. Social media tells us to share everything, every thought, every feeling, every detail of our lives. But in reality, the people who overshare are often the ones who lose out. They become predictable, ordinary, and sometimes even a little bit boring. Meanwhile, the people who know how to hold back, who choose their moments carefully, are the ones who get noticed. They're the ones who have real influence. The simple truth is this: speaking too much weakens your position, drains your influence, and can even cost you opportunities you didn't know you had. Silence, used wisely, is a tool. When you save your words for the moments that matter, those words become powerful. People listen, people remember, and you keep your edge while everyone else talks their way out of it. So, how exactly does silence turn into a superpower you can use in everyday life? Let's break it down into 3 simple but game-changing ways that keeping quiet actually gives you the upper hand. First, silence is your shield. Every time you hold back from explaining your next move, you protect yourself from people who might want to use your words against you. It's like building a wall around your best ideas and your deepest plans. The less you reveal, the fewer openings you give others to poke holes in your thinking or sabotage your efforts. In negotiations, for example, if you stay silent and let the other side speak first, you learn more about their position without giving away your own. The one who listens, not the one who talks, usually comes out on top. Second, silence is your thinking space. When you're not talking, you're free to actually observe, process, and analyze what's happening around you. That little pause before you answer a tough question or make a big decision can make all the difference. It gives you time to spot the details others miss. In job interviews, the candidate who pauses and thinks before answering is often seen as more thoughtful and confident. In sports, the athlete who waits for just the right moment, instead of acting on impulse, makes the game-winning move. Your quiet moments are where your smartest ideas come from. Third, silence is your amplifier. When you do choose to speak, your words mean more. Think about it. If you're always talking, people start to tune you out. But if you hold back, then speak up at just the right moment, everyone pays attention. Leaders who master silence know this. They don't waste words. When they talk, the whole room stops and listens because they've built a reputation for only speaking when it truly matters. That's real influence. The beauty is, you don't have to be born with this skill. You can practice it starting right now. Try holding back your opinion in a group conversation just once. Listen more than you talk. Watch how others respond. It might feel strange at first, but over time, you'll notice people start to respect your voice more. Your silence becomes your strength, and before you know it, you'll be the one with the upper hand, even when you say nothing at all. Let's be real, silence can feel weird at first. Most of us are so used to filling every little gap in conversation that even 2 seconds of quiet feels like an eternity. It's uncomfortable, it makes us anxious, and our brains start screaming, say something, anything. But that discomfort is exactly where the magic happens. Think about the last time you were in a meeting and there was an awkward pause. Almost always, someone jumps in to break the silence, even if they don't have anything useful to say. That's because most people are terrified of silence. They worry that if they're not talking, they're not contributing, or worse, that others will judge them. But here's the truth. The person who can sit comfortably in that silence has all the power. There's a classic move in negotiations called the silent treatment. After making an offer, the most skilled negotiators just stop talking. They let the silence hang in the air, no matter how awkward it feels. Almost every time, the other person gets nervous and starts to talk, sometimes even lowering their demands or giving away more than they planned. The one who breaks the silence usually loses. Silence in these moments is not empty. It's a pressure that works for you. You'll also see this in interviews and tough conversations. The candidate who pauses before answering seems thoughtful and confident. The person who listens carefully instead of jumping in with a quick reply seems more in control. Silence gives you time to think, but it also makes others feel your presence, even when you haven't said a word. At first, learning to embrace silence feels like standing on stage with everyone staring at you, waiting for your next move. But the longer you practice, the more you'll notice that people actually respect you more. They start to value what you say because you're not just talking to fill the air. You're only speaking when you have something real to offer. So if you want an easy way to stand out, don't rush to fill every pause. Let silence do the work for you. The person who can sit quietly while everyone else fidgets and chatters has already won half the battle. Let's face it, it's not easy to stay silent when every part of you wants to jump in and say something. We've all been there, feeling that itch to add our 2 cents, worried that if we don't speak up, we'll be ignored or left behind. But here's the problem. When you always follow that urge, you give away your power every single time. From the time we're kids, we're told to raise our hand, speak our mind, and never let a chance pass by. Teachers reward the talkers, bosses notice the loud ones, social media celebrates those who share everything. It's no wonder most of us feel uncomfortable with silence. It's been drilled into us that talking equals value. But what if that lesson is upside down? What if the true winners are the ones who don't give in to the pressure to talk just for the sake of it? The truth is, the people who win in the long run are often the ones who listen more than they speak. They're the ones who aren't afraid of awkward pauses, who don't rush to fill every gap, and who choose their words carefully. Of course, resisting the urge to talk takes practice. You'll feel awkward at first. People might even notice that you're not speaking as much as you used to, and that's okay. The challenge is pushing through that discomfort, knowing that every time you hold back, you're building strength. You're learning to trust that your value doesn't come from how much you say, but from how well you listen and how smart you are when you finally speak. It's not about being quiet all the time. It's about breaking the habit of jumping in without thinking. It's about knowing that silence can be your secret weapon. The next time you feel the urge to fill the silence, take a deep breath and wait. See what happens. You might be surprised by how much more powerful you feel and how much more respect you get from others. Now let's dig into how some of the world's most successful people use silence as their hidden advantage and how you can start doing the same. Look at Warren Buffett, one of the most respected investors on the planet. When he sits down in a meeting, he doesn't rush to give his opinion. He listens to everyone first, gathers all the information, and only then does he share what he thinks, usually in just a few sentences. His words carry so much weight because he chooses them carefully and rarely wastes time on small talk. It's no accident that when Warren speaks, the world listens. Steve Jobs was the same way. People would wait for him to say something, sometimes for what felt like ages. He would let the silence stretch, make people a little uncomfortable, and then drop a single sentence that would change the direction of the whole meeting. His silence wasn't just a habit, it was a tool. It made people pay attention, and it gave him the space to think before committing to anything. You'll see this strategy in sports too. The best coaches aren't always barking orders from the sidelines. They let their players figure things out, stepping in only when absolutely necessary. When they do speak, it's a turning point. Phil Jackson, the legendary NBA coach, would sometimes sit quietly on the bench, arms folded, while chaos unfolded on the court. His calm, his silence, sent a message: I trust you, now figure it out. And more often than not, his teams did just that. Even top negotiators like Chris Voss, a former FBI hostage negotiator, use silence as their greatest weapon. Chris teaches that after making an offer or asking a tough question, you should stop talking and let the other person break the silence. The discomfort is real, but whoever speaks first usually gives up something important. It's a test of nerves, and silence is the tool that tips the balance in your favor. But you don't have to be famous to use silence this way. Ordinary people do it every day, in boardrooms, classrooms, even around the dinner table. Maybe you're the parent who lets your child finish talking before jumping in. Maybe you're the friend who listens fully before giving advice. Or maybe you're the teammate who pauses before sharing an idea, making sure it's the right moment. The secret is, silence isn't just about saying nothing. It's about paying attention, picking your spots, and using every pause as an opportunity to learn more. It's about letting people show you who they are and what they want while you stay one step ahead, watching and listening. If you want to try this for yourself, start with small steps. In your next meeting, hold back just a little longer than usual before you speak. If you're in a disagreement, listen all the way through without interrupting and watch how people open up. When someone asks for your opinion, take a breath, think for a few seconds, and then respond. Over time, you'll notice that people start to listen more closely, value your words, and see you as someone who's calm, collected, and in control. Silence is your secret weapon. It's a skill you can practice, a habit you can build, and a strength you can rely on, no matter where you are or who you're with. The more you use it, the more you'll realize that you don't have to shout to be heard. Sometimes, the loudest thing in the room is the sound of someone who knows exactly when to say nothing at all. There comes a moment when you finally realize that silence isn't just the absence of noise, it's the presence of power. Maybe you're in a tough conversation with your boss and you want to defend yourself, but instead you pause, you listen, and you let the silence hang. In that moment, you feel the shift. You see how your calm makes them rethink their words, how your quiet confidence forces them to consider your side. That's when it hits you. Silence is a strategy, not a weakness. Let me tell you about a friend named Kevin, who used to be the guy who talked his way into and out of every situation. He always felt the need to fill every gap in conversation, and honestly, it made people tune him out. But when he started practicing silence, waiting, listening, letting others go first, something changed. In one big meeting, he listened to everyone, took notes, and didn't speak until the very end. When he finally did, his solution solved a problem nobody else had noticed. His words landed with impact, and people started coming to him for advice. He didn't have to push to be noticed. He let silence pull people in. That's the key moment. The day you realize you don't need to fight for attention. You don't need to talk more or louder to win. You just need to know when to speak and, more importantly, when to let your silence do the heavy lifting. It's not about shutting people out or being mysterious for no reason. It's about having confidence in yourself, trusting that your value doesn't come from filling every second with words, but from picking your moment, making it count, and letting people see that you're comfortable with who you are, even in total silence. The people who win in life are the ones who master this art. They know that silence isn't empty, it's full of possibilities, and when you use it right, you become the person everyone remembers. That's the real win, and it's something you can start practicing right now. So, let's bring it all together. In a world that never stops talking, the quietest person often holds the most power. Silence isn't about weakness or shyness. It's about control, confidence, and strategy. Every time you choose to listen before you speak, you get the upper hand. Every time you pause before responding, you give yourself space to think, learn, and make smarter moves. When you share less and let your actions speak louder than your words, people respect you more, value your opinion, and remember what you say. You've seen how silence works for leaders, for athletes, for negotiators, and even for everyday people who want to stand out. You've learned how talking too much can give away your advantage, while holding back keeps you flexible, unpredictable, and strong. You discovered that overcoming the urge to fill every pause is hard, but that's where your greatest growth begins. Here's the real secret. You don't have to talk the most to win the most. In fact, it's often the exact opposite. When you learn to shut up and let others reveal themselves, you gather information, build respect, and amplify your influence. Every pause, every moment of silence is a chance for you to shine without saying a word. So as you go forward, remember this: your silence is not empty. It's filled with power, potential, and possibilities. Practice it, trust it, and watch how quickly your life starts to change, one quiet victory at a time. Ready to unlock more hidden skills that set winners apart from the crowd? Check out the next video popping up right now, and let's keep building your advantage, one smart move at a time.